Okay, my normal mic wasn't working, so if this video is really quiet, I'm sorry. I'm gonna try to make this a quick one because I wrote down so much. Ridiculous. But yeah, I'll just jump right into it. I hope everybody's doing good. I wanted to comment first on some things that other people have said on the discussion so that I hopefully don't repeat anything. Marsha made some really good comments about respect, honor, and faith, and that they're a lot less boastful in the Lakota communities that Standing Bear describes. Marsha also made a good point that no one in our Western world really stops to enjoy life or enjoy the world around them the same way that they do in a lot of Indigenous societies. And she also made a good point about kind of along the same lines, just slowing down to be present, which was something that I had written down as like a huge thing, which I've mentioned before in some of my other videos that I think should be taken on by our societies, that we just need to slow down. Emily said something that really resonated with me, and that was that humans are meant for connection and meant for family and conversations, and that we're really missing out on a lot by sacrificing those elements of human nature, I guess, in the way that we do in Western society. She also, again, brought up a good point about alloparenting, which I totally agree is a huge thing that we could be taking away from traditional societies, and something that Standing Bear talks about a few times. And Dr. Hamilton brought it up. I guess it wasn't in our assigned readings, but there was that really good little excerpt about child rearing, and how sometimes Standing Bear mentioned that his mom wouldn't even see him just like a couple times throughout the day, and he would just being passed around the community, and from family member to family member, and just friend to friend and everything. And I think that's kind of a really cool way to raise a child, and just to have that much faith and trust in your community would be incredible, I think. And just really unheard of in today, in our society over here. Could you imagine just like sending your kid out the door and like, yeah, I'll see you later, maybe? Like, it'd be really cool, but if you were to suggest that to most parents nowadays, they would just laugh at you and be like, you're insane. Tyson, of course, made some great points, as always. He was kind of the wake-up call for me, because I did find myself totally being enthralled by, romanticizing this whole idea of living in nature and being one with nature, and he made a good point that it does borderline on painting the picture of a utopia, and while utopias are really great on paper, they're never that easy. Nothing's ever that easy. And Tyson made a good point about how living in nature and only taking what you need and stuff like that is essentially survival day to day, and it's a lot harder to do than it is to talk about doing. And then of course he brought up just the whole idea of respect for nature, and how our overpopulation in Western society causes overconsumption, and that's something that we obviously need to address. It's a problem that needs to be talked about. And then Dana made a great point about manners and about feeling like social pressure, feeling weird about asking people things or weird about saying things, and it's literally just pressure that we've created, like this weird unspoken awkwardness when you're at like other people's houses, or when someone is in your home, or just in any social situation. There just seems to be like this weird unspoken tenseness that I feel like from what I read doesn't really exist in the Lakota societies. It seems like they're very to the point and straightforward in their communication and in their hospitality and everything like that. There's no beating around the bush. It's just kind of like they say what they mean, and I really appreciate that. And I think Dana was kind of making along the same lines, along the same points. And then I just wrote down a couple quotes and things that I really like that stood out for me. I'll try to make this quick. See if I can make it under 10 minutes this time. But under Indian wisdom, I thought obviously it was awesome that they're lovers of earth, and it really stood out to me that they see soil as healing. It was mentioned on page 148, and I think that's really cool, because everything grows from the soil. It gives life, and I thought that was really cool that as the Lakota people age, they find themselves more connected with the dirt and with the earth. That just stood out to me as something that's very interesting and could be emulated for sure. And then I took this quote from page 149. He's talking about things that they're teaching their children about the earth, and he says, quote, "We sit in the lap of our mother. From her we and all other living things come. We shall soon pass, but the place where we now rest will last forever." I think that really stood out to me, because teaching our kids and about death and being open about mortality, it fosters mindfulness and it teaches them to really slow down and appreciate the moment that they have, because we are not immortal. Our existence here isn't forever, and we need to, appreciate what we have when we have it. But also the statement to me, that part where he says that the place where we now rest will last forever. That part's pretty cool because it kind of gives a sense of comfort that even though you've passed on, your body returns to the earth, and you're returned to that wholeness. And then it was also mentioned that the Lakota people place more emphasis on living their life rather than the strange Western, I guess, European idea of an afterlife, and how, it's what you do on life is only so that you can have a better afterlife and all of that stuff. That's a very European idea, and one that personally I reject wholeheartedly because I just think we should be living our life for this life, not for what may or may not happen when we die. That just seems silly. Going back to the social aspect of Lakota society, I just wrote down something about their, I don't know if I'm saying this right, but their Hakoka, that central or middle space between the 4 teepees where they all gather and everything. I thought that was really interesting, that they meet there for games, ceremonies, festivities, and all sorts. Festivities of all sorts were held, and that's the quote from page 98. That stood out to me because I just think that's really cool that they have a place where they can all gather and get together, and I don't think that that's really something that we do in Western society. The social aspect of small communities has just been completely eradicated. It's just not something you see anymore. I did write down just the whole concept of the 4 eagles. I thought was really cool. Quote, spotted eagle of the south, which carries the souls of the dead to the land of happiness. That was really cool. It stood out to me. Kind of not really relevant in this conversation, but I just thought it was neat, so I threw it in there. And this quote from page 100. The central aim of the Lakota Code was to bring ease and comfort in equal measure to all. There were no weak and no strong individuals from the standpoint of possessing human rights. That is huge to me. I thought that was really awesome because there are some people, and I even know some people who still think like this, who are, I guess, extreme right-wing kind of capitalistic type people who very much believe that it doesn't matter how you were born or the circumstances of your existence, that it's ultimately up to you to create your own success. And I just, I agree with that in that nobody should just be sitting around waiting for things to be handed to them, but ultimately there are people who are more disadvantaged than others, and to say that those people are less worthy of human rights, in my opinion, is completely wrong, but whatever. That's just my 2 cents. So yeah, essentially, I agree with everything that's been said already, and I just love the concept of tribal oneness and unity and having and celebrating individuality while still maintaining loyalty to this sense of belonging and being part of something that's bigger than ourselves. I think that's really cool and something that we should definitely emulate. The unspoken law that was already talked about as well, I thought was very interesting. How, quote, the decision of the nation or done by the people. I can't say the Lakotan phrase for that, but I thought that was a very cool kind of, they don't have to write it down because they think that once you've written something down, it can be twisted and manipulated. And I think that that's a very cool concept because holy, do our laws ever get twisted and manipulated. Very much. Yeah, that's pretty much all that I said. Was just that I agree totally that the way that they pause in conversation and they're not rushed in the way that they speak. Their manners are very direct and to the point. I think that's really great. Something that we should definitely emulate instead of all of this weird passive-aggressive, in between the lines speaking that we do here in Western society, or maybe just in my social circle, I don't know. Catty. That's all, yeah, weird. One more thing, and then I will end this because we're almost at 10 minutes, and I said I wasn't going to do that. Was just the video, that graphic that Dr. Hamilton put up. How quickly in the 1800s the lands get eaten up and seized, and just the amount of residential schools. Wow. Just, it shook me. It really did. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say. I also thought it was interesting that their clothing was functional and breathable, and just that they served its purpose, and that was it, instead of our weird flashy clothing here. There's probably a bunch of other stuff that I wrote too, but I'm always so bad for just rambling and rambling. But yeah, thank you for watching another one of my videos. Yeah, there's some great points. This was a really good start off to this book, I think. and I'm interested to see where it goes. So yeah.